What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another board unboxing, and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new TRX50-SAGE Wi-Fi A. Now the A is the new refresh model, which is this one here. Over here is the previous version, which is the non-A, so very similar in terms of some of the specs. Some things are a little bit different. Board aesthetics do look the same. So in this video, I'm going to go over the board, then go over some other things as well. So we'll quickly spin this around, get this in frame, have a look inside quickly. Asus Control Center Express. Hopefully you can't see that serial number because you do need a license key. I will talk a little bit about this later on. Asus sent me this board. They said you can do whatever you want with it. If you could just help us out and talk a little bit about the Asus Control Center Express, which I will. I've installed that. I've had to play around with it. It's pretty cool to have a look at that. The board itself, I'll pull this out of this. There's not much in the box. I had a look in the box before. It's just like the Wi-Fi antenna. It does have Wi-Fi 7, some SATA cables, nothing really too fancy. I'll just put these side by side. I don't want to spend too much time on the older one. That's been out for, I think, at least over a year or so now. So I got the new A version here, previous non-A version here, and this is them side by side. So main difference is VRM. VRM on the non-A is absolutely massive. I'm not sure if they needed it to be that big. I think it's by far the largest on any of the current boards out of all the brands at the moment. It's something like a whopping 18 by 2, so it's a 36 phase. It's a 36 plus 3 plus 4 plus 4. On the new A revision, it's a 20 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So as you can see, the massive amount of difference there with the VRM cooling. Like, this isn't just extra cooling, there is actual VRMs. If I can get this shot, there's actually VRMs all under that top part, all on the right side, all on the left side. Absolutely monstrous. You can also see with the extra power, double 24 pins. There's a 8-pin, 6-pin, 8-pin, 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 8-pin. That is absolutely insane. So maybe this is more of a toned down version. They realized they didn't need that. Even with some of the higher end CPUs, I think the 96 core or something, you can still pull that on a system like this. So the cooling or the VRM capacity for this one is just on this side and then also on this side. And then all of these boards still have a VRM fan on each of the sides. VRM fan there, same on this side. Might be hard to see that fan. And then same on this is a fan there, Now, want to know your thoughts? Do you like the more slotted design like this one, which is just lots of mirrored slits, or would you prefer like the grid hole pattern for the slits? I don't really know at the moment. They both look pretty good. So want to talk about some of the other specs as well. The boards, or this board I'm going to be talking about, features will vary depending on the CPU you use. A lot of times on consumer boards, you don't really have that, like a Ryzen 9000, Ryzen 7000. The only thing is 8000, sometimes you get different M.2 support because 8000 is a bit of a weird skew when it comes to the Ryzen consumer series. But with Threadripper, if you're using a Pro, you will get more support. If you're using a non-Pro, you will get less support on this board. Things like the Slim SAS, you only get one if you're using a non-Pro, but you get both of those if you're using a Pro CPU. And then you have boards like the WX90, which is the big boy again, which has the 7 PCIe slots, the 8-channel memory board that'll support the Pro CPUs only. And then you have these boards, the TRX50, they will support the Pro and the non-Pro. So it can be a little bit confusing. But I just want to get out of the way that I do like the design of this board. It has this little notch cutout. I guess maybe for some case support, it'll look pretty sweet. This one's your more traditional, just square straight edge. I am going to be putting this into another Singularity Computers Spectra. There is a new enterprise chassis that was launched a little while ago. I'm still running, if you follow my channel, the previous workstation build I did in the W790 Sage, similar to these boards, but it's on the Intel platform. I had a 56 thread Xeon in there. I still use that on my daily basis. I use that for editing, use it for gaming, all of that stuff. And that's in the original Singularity Enterprise. And that was a sweet rig, but now I'm going to upgrade. A lot of people might be thinking, well, why do I need such high-end gear such a high core count CPU if I'm not going to be smashing it every single minute of the day. Well, that is correct. I don't always render videos. I might do one video a day. I might not do a video for a few days, but in that meantime, I'm running things like all my cards maxed out. I'm running full network cards. I'm running cards like this monster Highpoint card, which I'll talk about in a second. Things like that, PCIe allocation you cannot get on consumer boards. So I'll touch the base a little bit more on that as we go through this board here. So let me try and get this away from any reflections above, because the top here is mirrored grille. So yeah, Pro 9000 and 7000 and non-Pro as well. Power delivery I covered. Memory support, you're looking at up to 256 gigabyte DIMMs. I think that's the max at the moment. It has to be ECC RDIMM registered. So on this board, you will get up to 1 terabyte. Because it's 4 channel, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times the 256 is the 1 terabyte. Now, the difference with the CPUs with the Pro and the non-Pro, the Pros will support up to 2 terabyte for the 8 channel, and the non-Pros will support the 1 terabyte. So that's something to be mindful there. So if the boards or if memory manufacturers do 512 gig modules, the Pros can take advantage of that. And currently the non-Pros will only support up to the 1 terabyte at the moment. So I've got some memory modules over here. I always like to, as I mentioned these in my videos, test out different type of memory. Of course, for a board like this, you're going to be limited on what you can go with, because you can't just throw in some fancy RGB core set memory or so on. So this here is actually some ADATA memory. It's their RDIMM, but what I've actually done is I picked up some of the Bits Power heat sinks. So these are actually Bits Power heat sinks for their LN2 pots. You're meant to put these all together, put the pot on top for when you're doing liquid nitrogen. But what you can do is you don't need to put the pot on them at all. You can just leave them like this. And I actually did this in my previous Xeon, the W790 Sage build, and you can see how good these really look. If I just get one last shot, it's probably going to get a lot of reflections. Actually, it's kind of like a really fine matte texture. And once you put this in, like, you can do this with any type of company that does things like these RAM sinks, even ones for water blocks. You don't really need to put the water blocks on. They don't get super, super hot. You can see there, going to get a lot of reflections. It just ties it in really nicely. And it makes it a little bit cleaner, as if I was to just have the stock standard green PCB, because this one is green PCB, that would look kind of, I don't know, I'd say yucky in a build like this. Now, PCIe is going to be a little bit different on these CPUs as well. So the 9000 or 7000 Pro CPU, you're looking at about a total of 148 lanes. That's 144 lanes usable. For a non-Pro, you're looking at 92 lanes total, and that's 88 usable. So quite a little bit of a difference there, and you'll see some of the areas where some of the M.2s are shared, the Slim SAS is shared, and one's also disabled. Whereas if you went with something like the WRX90 with a Pro, you pretty much get everything. Now, moving down to slots, this is what I am interested to talk about. Oh, these are all, that's something I just noticed. I can't even get my finger in there. Let me just take this off. So this is the M.2 cover. Nice, easy, quick release, no screws anymore for that. So these ones are the new Asus, the quick release ones that you just like put in your card and then it latches in. The PCIe Q release, something like that. And then these ones here are your more old school, because this was about a year or so later. As you can see, they don't just release back. So for the slots, you're looking at more a traditional quad SLI spacing, double spacing, although SLI is dead. That's just the way they've done this spacing. And these are all electrically and physically by 16 slots. So this is full 16, full 16, full 16. These 1, 2, 3 are all Gen 5, and this bottom one is Gen 4. So that's pretty sweet. No sharing, no, if you put a card in here, this one drops down to 8, or if you put a card in here, these two drop to 8, this runs at 4, this gets disabled, everything runs at by 16, similar on the previous board over here. But as you can see, the layout is just a little bit different on here. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whereas this one just has the 4 spaced out slots. Moving on to the M.2 layout. This is a little bit confusing, a little bit tricky. There is 4 all up, 1, 2, 3, 4. They are labeled M.21, M.22, M.23, M.24. Easy way to see which one's a Gen 5. All the ones with this black heatsink on the back of the Gen 5 ones. This one here is a Gen 4. So they're labeled number 1, 2, 3, 4. Gen 5, Gen 5, Gen 5, Gen 4. Any CPU, whether it's a Pro, non-Pro, you can get the 3 of them working. You'll get M.2 1, 2, and 3. Now, if you're using a Threadripper Pro, you will be able to get the 4th one as well. And then also you can get access to both of the Slim SAS. But if you're using a non-Pro CPU, you only get Slim SAS 2, not Slim SAS 1. And you also lose the 4th gen or the 4th M.2, which is a Gen 5. You lose that slot as well. And then also the M.2 3 is also shared with the Slim SAS 2. So it's kind of confusing. This one is shared with this one as well, regardless of what CPU you use. So a little bit confusing there. It's not as simple as just throwing in a CPU and getting everything to work. So just wanted to highlight that. Now, some people might be wondering, why would you need something like all these M.2, then something like all of these full speed slots? So for me, I'm thinking of jamming as many M.2 as I can in the board, depending on which CPU. I don't know whether I'm going to go a Pro or a non-Pro. I really do like to use my 2 Slim SAS because I have a couple of those 15 terabyte Kioxia U.2 SSD, so I can utilize both of those. So straight away, that's leaning me towards a Pro CPU. So basically, I'm probably going to go GPU in the primary, obviously probably a 5090. Then I've got these 3 left. I could go with something like, this here is a Highpoint R7608A RAID card. I take this off, nice fan in the middle. And I do like how it has little pogo pins that connect the fan. No cables, no nothing, just comes straight out. This monster here is a 8 drive M.2 RAID card. Now, it's kind of similar, but it's not like those previous quad or M.2 cards that you used to get bundled with your motherboard. Those ones you threw in a slot. You still needed a 16 but with a 16 by slot with those cards, but those ones use the built-in motherboard RAID. And also you needed bifurcation in the motherboard. So you went to that slot, you went into the settings and you set it to by 4 by 4 by 4 by 4. This one, you don't do that. You just leave it at 16. I've even tested it at by 8 and it still works fine. You do drop half your speed, but all of the drives work the same as it would whether it's in the by 8 or by 16. You just lose some of the speed. Whereas if you run one of those quad cards that just has the 4, normally one drive goes to by 4, another drive goes to by 4, other drive goes to by 4, and then the last drive goes to the last by 4. So if you're only running it in a by 8 slot, you normally only get the first 2 to show up. So this is different as it has its own built-in RAID chip. You install their software in Windows, set up the RAID, it's separate to the BIOS, and then away you go. Now, these slots are all Gen 5. The card bus is Gen 5, and it's an absolute monster. You can saturate this card or saturate the bus with about 56 gigabytes a second. I've done a quick testing around. I set up a RAID 0. Mind you, these are all 8 terabyte ADATA SSD. So this is a 64 terabyte array. You can run at 56 gigabytes a second, and it's an absolute monster. Now, you don't need all Gen 5s to saturate this. These are all Gen 4s, and I can still saturate that bus. I don't even think you can get 8 terabyte Gen 5 drives. So I went down the route of going with just Gen 4s, and it still works really good. I'm actually thinking about picking up one of these. Highpoint were really nice to send me one of these for this project. I'll probably pick up a second one so I can have one in the prime, or one in the secondary, or one in the third. I'll probably put 4 Ts in the second one, 8 Ts in this one, GPU in the primary slot, and then the bottom slot I may use for something like networking or something like that. I really do like my fiber networking. I have run a lot of fiber around the basement down here in this new house. So just having fiber connectivity to this motherboard would be really, really good. Now, as we're talking about fiber and LAN, let's have a look. On the back, we have 10 gig Marvel there, and then we have the 2.5 Intel. I really wish that they would beef up the LAN a little bit on these. I think it's more on the WX90. You do get the dual 10s. On my WS790 Xeon, you get 2 10s, but as you can see, both of these boards are 10 and a 2.5. I just think 2 10s would really be or really hit the sweet spot. For LAN, you're looking at Wi-Fi 7, 160. I'm not sure why they didn't go down to the more beefier 320 megahertz bandwidth channel. Probably because they think if you're going to set this up as a workstation, you're probably not going to be using this with Wi-Fi. You're probably going to be used definitely a dedicated link. Moving to USB, I am sort of speeding this through a bit because I actually started doing this video yesterday and it just went on for way too long. So I'm trying to trim it down a bit, and I also want to talk about that control center software as well. Now, USB on this one, this is a real bonus on this one that was lacking on the previous one over here, and that is USB 4 or USB 40. So you get the two here. Now, that's probably going to be a deal breaker for me because I really do want USB 40, things like external drives, external devices, things like that. That'll come in handy. And you have 6 standard USB Type A. They are the 10, they're the green or the teal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then a standard USB 2.0 Type A, so old school USB. Maybe they've just thrown that in there for older devices. If this is a workstation, it might have some serial to USB converter, and that might like to run on USB 2. And then you have BIOS flashback, and that is the matching port. And then you also have display port in. There's one, and there's a second one there for anyone who needs that. But yeah, definitely that USB 40. If we have a look at the previous one here, that is over a year old, get those lined up. You can see there's similar type of USB. No display port in on this one actually, but it's just got the single USB 20. So really lacking when it comes to the Type-C config there. Now moving to front panel headers, maybe for a workstation, not too many. I've got my fingerprints on there. It is a real mirror finish. Not too many people might be even using the front panel if it's in a workstation chassis or something, but you do get a total of 7 for the front. You get 9 on the rear, total 7 on the front. You get your standard USB 20. That does have USB, the 30 watt power delivery. Not sure if anyone would use that on a workstation. There is a corresponding power connector for it. Got a standard USB 3 5 gig header, which is this one here. So that'll give you your 2 USB 3 and then dual USB 2 headers down the bottom. So pretty standard there. Other things you get are like your debug postcode LED, the 2-digit display, which is handy. They always are good. And then plenty of power around the board, which I mentioned before. Definitely not as beefy as the other one over there. Now, lastly, I do want to talk about is the Control Center Express. I did have a bit of a play around with it before I set this up, and it's actually pretty cool. So as you saw in the box earlier, it comes with that license key. You need to install the software, install the license key on that PC that you're running the host out of. So I set it up on this one, ran it as the host, and then I was able to deploy the client manually over the network to my actual daily system, which is in the Xeon Sage, and I had to play around with it. So some things you need to do first, you need to enable remote services through the firewall on all the client PCs, and then you also need the administrator username and password put into the host in the software. There's an option to put it. Now for me, being a home local network, I probably wouldn't use software like this. It's probably designed more on a large scale. And of course, when it comes to passwords and all of that, you're going to be on a domain. So you're going to have a service account, which will take care of all of that. Don't think you have to put in all the passwords for all the separate computers on your network. On a large scale environment, you'll have certain service accounts for that. So once it's installed, you can deploy the client, then away you go. It actually pops up, and then you can see straight away, I had actually 2 red notifications. So my connection was fine. I had 2 red notifications. So when I scroll down to hardware sensor, so I can do hardware sensor, connection, and the utilization. So straight away, I had 2. It was saying my motherboard temp was warning at 33 degrees. I don't really think that's a bit of a warning. But then the main one it picked up, which I think is good, was the CPU fan header. Had nothing plugged in. It was detecting 0 for the RPM for the CPU fans. So that's pretty sweet. Could you imagine if you had like 100 of these on your network and these all showed up? It would really give you an idea on which PCs are not. I wouldn't say they're not working. It's just that someone's probably not plugged in that fan header and they just ignored it, whereas this software is going to pick it up. So I actually did go through and set that to, I think I set the CPU fan load to 0, and that was just a sneaky way. I wanted to see if it cleared itself. And then when I went back in, it actually did go back to orange, which was pretty good. So that cleared up that, or it went to yellow, not orange. So that cleared that up which is good. Then other things you can do are like utilization. It can see what CPU cores are being pegged. It can check everything. Things like hard drives. I do have a lot of CPU cores in this system, so it did go on for a while. And then one thing it did pick up a petition was red. It picked up my backup drive Z. That's actually something like a 40 terabyte array, and that is absolutely jam-packed full. And that was running at about 99% full capacity. So it picked that up, which was pretty good. So that's one other thing that the software can do. Pick up things like full drives, all of that. And then if you go through some other things, you can control a lot of your devices. You can do like remote, you can do remote desktop, other things like that. You can also disable a lot of devices. You can go through and disable things like USB. You can disable Regedit. You can restart, power off PCs. And just a quick look at the remote desktop. I've actually remoted back into my daily system from this PC, and you can see it just running normally. Like, yeah, you can do all this stuff separately through like remote desktop and all that, but having it all in one software is pretty cool. And then you can even see things like device manager. You can see all of the devices you have installed, any issues, anything like that. But overall, something just different, something a little bit cool to play around with. Some people might be interested in this because you are getting that when you do purchase this board. But anyway, I think that is it on this video. I just wanted to go over this board, have a little look at the previous one over here, go over the features, and then highlight the differences between running the two different models, or the Pro or the non-Pro CPU. So hopefully soon, once I pick up another one of these cards, I will get this system going. I'm not sure what else I'm waiting on, probably depending on if I go Pro or a no Pro CPU. But in terms of price, I couldn't find anything on this board yet. The A model, the non-A model goes for about $899 new. So I'm not sure if this is a step down or a step to the side, because you've got the lesser VRM, but then you do have some other cool features. You've got the extra slim SAS, and then you also have the dual USB 4 on the back. So I think it's going to be very, very similar in price. It might just be a step to the side. But anyway, like always, I want to thank you guys for watching. I want to thank Asus for sending this board out, and we'll see you in the next one.